stop in this all-important best of three. A match that could easily be featured in a major finals, and yet here we are enjoying it right here, right now. Vitality starting on the CT side, and Astralis off to the races with plenty of utility. Slowing it down somewhat, the bulk of their aggression coming through on Playground, where they will meet shocks. But Estetag will be contending against two aggressive players. He gets put down by Masuda, who really had a resurgence in form on that Dust 2. Second best player statistically on Vitality. And now the top fragger of zywoo is moving into bathrooms, but he's not called upon because Shock is locking it down single-handedly. Knocking Glaive down to 7 HP, still standing, still delivering. Shock's with a 3k. And when Astralis tried to breathe a sigh of relief after the initial bloodshed went in their favor, Shock stands tall and he gets a 4k to wrap it up.
This will always be the map for me that springs to mind when I think of this player, and pistol rounds is where he has shown he is the king. It's not done just yet. Like I don't even want to get excited about pistol round wins anymore after what happened in the last map. We were watching 4 spies up until round 10 in the last one. So let's see if Vitality can get off to a slightly better start this time. It is going to be Deagles on the other side, a Tech 9 alongside it for Glaive. It gives him a little bit of extra utility, and well, there are going to be a few rifles here, but already a decent amount of damage being done. S-Tag proved against Fnatic that this is a map that he thoroughly enjoys. Then again, I think we mentioned it at the time, there wasn't a weak link for Astralis in that map.
Yeah, when you look at the collective 2 maps, dupreeh and zywoo both identical, 36 kills over 2 maps. dupreeh 1.23 rating, zywoo 1.2 rating. Very, very close. There's some deagle shots go narrowly across on the side, just missing Shox' head. Vitality are into a commanding position again. They've lost a bit of HP, but they've given as good as they've received. And the hate sheet softening up Device a little bit more. 45 seconds left. And Astralis starting to make moves with a bomb. Actually, on the other side of the map, it all seems like a bit of a ploy. Or at least it was for a few moments. Now Estetag on 6 HP starts to rejoin and regather to the rest of the troops.
Yeah, it seemed like an attempt at some sort of ruse, but it hasn't worked. There's 3 players ready and waiting, and the time is ticking low for the Danes. They have to get their running shoes on. Nice shot from Glaive, though. We've seen some few tasty tech shots throughout the day so far. Masuda, though, he wants to farm some cash, instead gets headshotted, and the trade's coming back thick and fast, but Device, he has to run to pick up this bomb. He should get it down. That's money in the bank, but Apex is there straight away to clear up the mess. It's a bomb plant, though, for Astralis. That will give them some deagles likely in the next round. If they're feeling really audacious, Vince, maybe they go for a force, but most cases, you will just see some pistols invested here.
It is an interesting one because they must know that Vitality's economy is in no great shape. They have to replenish 3 guns. They can drop on Apex and RPK. zywoo has gone for the AWP. But you're on the money. They do go for a half buy instead. It will be Deagles, Tech 9s, and a bit of Kevlar thrown in the mix. So they are still very much a threat. And again, with 3 players below the $500 mark, if they can get some kills here, Tom, that's kind of worth its weight in gold. Don't necessarily expect to win this round, but if you can do a bit of damage on the way out, that's probably good enough. zywoo missing his shot, not something we've said too many times in this match, especially on Dust 2. And Astralis, with that mercy being shown across, try to get themselves into close proximity, but Estetag takes shreds of damage through the smoke of Monster.
I think that's the incredible thing that is zywoo, is that when he... Never mind, who's zywoo? Never heard of him. See you later. Device has decided enough chat. And it's something that actually works for both of these players. Oh my goodness. Device is here to party. That's another kill coming up for him. A rifle retrieved. You mentioned this. Maybe if they get a couple of kills, that'll be a pretty decent round. Well, I think they're going for the dub.
They most certainly are, but with 4 players low, this isn't completely lost just yet on Vitality. They may have no idea that all these players are low, and you could see that Masuda was trying to spring into action multiple directions. RPK gets 2. 1 to the flames of the Molotov. Vitality still trailed by a player, but they're actually ahead in terms of HP. nearly double, if not more so, than their adversaries. Apex spins in to hit 2 kills for him, and then RPK chips in for the last, and the final frag comes in. The tank with a 4K, and Vitality with a 3rd round, but it's at great cost for their economy.
Yeah, by no stretch of the imagination are Vitality happy with that round. Like, they might have a sigh of relief, but there will be no cheers had for a victory in the 3rd. That was just the bonus money that was from the bomb plant in the last round, invested to do some extra damage, and Device manages to get 3 kills. Now, this means that Vitality, other than a bonus $2,400 that Apex has, this is everything they've got, and it's not even like the cleanest of rifles. Like, you got some FAMASes in there. It's definitely not as pretty as they would have liked. The main thing, though, is they've got the open Device. 1 HP. That wall has saved him. The shrapnel blasts him through it. He'll survive by the skin of his teeth.
Oh, he's hemorrhaging. That shockwave has absolutely obliterated Device, but at least he still stands. And even with 1 HP, he's always a threat. Typically in that mantle, you're speaking about an AWP. This time it is the AK by his side. Vitality already off to a solid start in terms of the rounds, but we've already discussed that they're by no means safe, no means healthy. And Shox, who is thinking about some bathroom control, starts to make a way back. No one's joining alongside him. zywoo with the AWP perched up on long. Early information being gathered, ascertained across the Vitality, who are looking to procure a 4th round and snap Astralis back into submission once more. But the Danes are waiting patiently just outside of B. And some good counter nades being tossed in. This will stall the push a little bit longer. Masuta gets antsy. He looks and he finds the information he was trying to attain, but it's at the cost of his life, and that's not going to be worth it.
zywoo under pressure, but he's patient. He finds the pick, and this actually thwarts the plans of Astralis. They wanted to try and make a play off the back of Magis taking map control. Instead, they're going to have to gamble in for it anyway. The thing is, though, zywoo somewhat rotated. He's going to run back in towards the truck, trying to take the control back, and he lands the no-scope. Device, on just 1 HP, is going for the bomb plant, but his teammate is defending him to his last breath. It's Dupree on 49. Well, they've got 50 between them, that's for sure. Both players coming in from the same angle. RPK looking to try and potentially find something around the edge of the smoke. He's waiting for Shox to gain position around the stairs. However, the time is ticking. The tank's the one with a kit. He can defuse the bomb from inside, but he needs to try and find the kills, and Device only on 1 HP. He gets one, and Dupree the other. These two players have been so good throughout this series, and they win a clutch again.
zywoo, valiant attempt to hold on with just 10 seconds to spare, but it was that Masuta play to start things off down short that was putting Vitality in a really awkward shape, and this is where that previous 4K round on Astralis catches up with Vitality. Masuta 1400, they may actually force. There's a couple players down there that are very low. Haven't done any utility damage on this map yet. Not necessarily too surprising on the T side of overpass. That may very well change when full executes and mollies are tossed to the likes of barrel and HEs are flung over as well. Still very early days, and we know that Astralis have many an ace up their sleeve. But let's see if Vitality do go for a force. If they don't, then Masuta is going to be in rough shape for another 2 or 3 rounds at least. So they do go for that force buy. I'm not too surprised at this, but you can see the result of it though, Tom, is a very, very poor buy, including 2 SMGs and an M4, only 1 smoke and no kits.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose. It's a crappy situation either way. Like, I don't know, losing a hand or a foot. Like, either way, you're going to be left limbless. So they're going to try and risk it in this round, get the job done early. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, they take the eco anyway. zywoo in position with the Deeg. Going to be one of the players here, one of the 4, in fact, currently holding on to this B site. They push directly into a stack. It's all 5 players of Astralis. No shenanigans this time. And wow, I don't think anyone on Vitality is laughing. They have been picked apart completely. Apex, he just wants to hold on to his gun, and well, it seems like this time Astralis might be kind. The Danes are going to take full control of the site, and with Shox coming in on a flank, if anything, this may just be for an exit.
Well, if there's any laughter on Vitality, it's really just to hide the tears because of how brutal that opening was. And typically when you have SMGs and you have a lack of utility, you almost are begging and daring the opposition to just run straight at you. It can sometimes in that dirty boxing kind of arena work out for the SMGs, but not this time. Astralis, they are too good with that utility, too good with the flashbangs preceding the push. Vitality look like they may be able to save both of these guns. Shox with the MP9 is up close, may look for an exit frag and try and convert into one of these AKs. And Astralis have a weakened Magisk, who was going to have to dart out of Monster, otherwise he will die to the bomb blast. He is maybe the weakened player that they can try and capitalize on, but in terms of the round, it is done. Astralis getting one step closer to equality. And Vitality, again, because of their force, they're not going to have much or anything to play with. Shox may die to the bomb, does just about survive. And he doesn't want to repeat, so he'll be able to hold on to that MP9. They have an M4 alongside it, but not 2, 16, 10. And now this is perfectly poised for a very close nail-biter of a map. And the technical issues have now been resolved. We get straight back into the action, as Tom correctly called the economy and Vitality in the dumps. They have to stick with those 2 saved guns. And they will be stacking 3, make that 4 players on B. They've made the right reads. And zywoo getting aggressive up Banana to get information. So if Astralis do start to wrap back around through Connector, zywoo can give the early intel, being that early alarm bell that rings out to the rest of his teammates. RPK's been sprayed alongside Masuta. And this is where things could get a little bit sketchy, but Shox in the off angle with the MP9, spraying down 2, trades up to the AK, and this round is still on the table. The bomb's been dropped out.
This shouldn't be working, but you know what? If Shox is going to pop off on overpass, I am not going to be a man to complain. Now, Apex still healthy. He's even going to peek out, and he's got zywoo alongside him to work one with the USP, and Shox! He's got 9 kills in this game, Vince. Now, I don't remember where the 1 came from, but I can tell you he got 4 in this round. He got 4 in the pistol round. So if he's just going to pop up every once in a while and absolutely wreck Astralis, let's go. We've got a game on our hands.
That round was an M4 and an MP9 and 3 USPs. Not a single piece of utility, not a kit. As bare bones as Vitality could have limped into that round with, and they have made it work. They've instantly forced Astralis back a few steps. They're now down into 3, make it 4 players below $1,000. It's their economy that is in real trouble now. And Vitality, look at the economic boost they get out of that round as well, Tom. They were already holding off on the buy. 4 of their players have thousands of dollars to their name after the alternative basically having nothing. Device with the spray into bathrooms, not too far off landing a few shots, but Vitality will be untouched as they fall back to A.
It's interesting because you see both sides of the coin. Like moments ago, I was mentioning how it's a very bold play to go for the B rush. Well, here you go. That's why it's a bold play. Sometimes you get wrecked by one man with an MP9. So they're not going to be doing that again. Though the bomb is still poised outside the B site. It's not been a rush, so it's not quite identical. They're still going to do what they normally do on this side of the map. They're going to throw out a lot of nades, utility being expended, even leaving players behind in the form of Magis to try and sell this to the CT side that there are people here. The thing is, though, Masuta, after seeing all those bullets sprayed, actually makes the decision to go back in the other direction. It hasn't quite worked. It may not matter, though. They've completely overwhelmed the B defense. Now Masuta, the rotator, is actually the only man here, and they've been ripped a new one. It is the bomb going down just moments after a huge success on the exact same site. They are forced to save.
And we have been here before. Tom, do you remember, cast your mind back to Dust 2? There was a round where Masuta, up close on the right-hand side of B, goes unchecked. Deagle rips out 3 players, Shox takes the rest down. Very similar, lack of buy. Instantly, Astralis come back, win, and we're talking about, geez, they just stole this round away, they instantly slump back down again. Rinse and repeat. Lightning has struck twice. History's repeated itself. That set up the first map for a real beauty. A great climax towards the end, and a third map behind it. There is no more wiggle room for these teams. Astralis have got to make these little advantages start to stack up into something special. I was talking about their economy in trouble. That round really boosts them up and brings vitality back to earth. We are so evenly spread between these two teams again.
And that's been the big thing. Like up until maybe the sort of last few rounds of the last map, we were looking at what, like a 9-9, 10-10 scoreline. Up until we just saw a streak from Vitality. They need to pull off a streak like that again. They're on the CT side. Well, the big man himself has the big green. zywoo with the AWP, device on the other side. It's the battle we've wanted to see, but we know that on this map specifically, it's going to be that CT-sided AWPer that's favored. Now, this duo that he has with Shox is one that, well, you definitely have to be careful of, but it involves Shox doing a lot of the heavy lifting, finding out a lot of information for their side. And the problem is that Astralis are always pushing and probing both sides of the map. They never really leave you with any sort of break. What it can mean is on occasions, they may be spread a little bit thin. This time, though, they're going to put so much pressure onto Shox. They've done their homework, they've found him out, and now they have a man advantage.
And as if to prove you right as well, Tom, just as you said, spread thinly, Shox was all alone. Back to the wall in bathroom, knew he could be getting flanked and swept in. As zywoo was more passive, back towards the A side of long. 40 seconds though, Astralis still need to do something with this advantage. Throwing a smoke from A onto B to lock it down, and now the A side comes in. That flashbang could not have been placed any better. You can see that the entirety of that push was completely blinded. And now Vitality hold it down with the M4 of Apex and the AWPer zywoo. The utility there could not have been placed better for the Frenchman.
There's honestly a part of me that, you know when you watch certain AWPers play, and there, you think, okay, there are shots that I reckon they'll hit, and there's shots that they might hit, and then there's some where you go, they probably won't get that. I think that's with most AWPers. There's no shot that I don't think he can hit. That one, I don't even think, we didn't even really see it from his point of view. He was running backwards through a Molotov and then still kills the guy on long. Like, it was absolutely nothing. We just have to gloss over that because he does that on a regular. And it is truly ridiculous how good this guy is, especially at the age he's currently at. It's very easy to forget how young zywoo is. I guess it's because he's not even the rookie on his team anymore. We're looking at Masuta, who's also had a pretty damn good series. Currently having a bit of a rough start, but you know what? They're in the lead. The T side once again. Their money is in the bin. But yet again, can never count Astralis out of these rounds. Utilities a little bit off. In fact, weaponry for Magisk is literally just a P250. But chances are, gonna let someone else try and take some of these initial fights. The spam from Apex actually, I think, surprising the players on Astralis at least a little bit early. But there is with that rotational AWP finding the opener. In fact, Glave's gone as well, and they don't expect Masuta. This is a cheeky little CT setup that almost baits some sort of security expected from Astralis. They don't check the angles properly, and Vince, well, in a 1v4, if Device really wants that #1 in the world, I think he needs to go on better.
He's got the first, and he has time to play with. The CTs don't know where the bomb is. There's the second, but 30 HP remains for the Great Dane. Now can pick up that bomb. It's all about divide and conquer at this point. Can he try and get two of Vitality away from the pack? Nullify them quickly. Vitality may very well just give up this bomb plant and decide to move in together. Respect Device's prowess. He absolutely could take this round down if you give him opportunities in which to do it. He played phenomenally well on Nuke. Dust 2 was a little bit more absent, and now here on Overpass, he's off to a good start. Coming round the corner, 15 seconds to play with now. Only Shox is up close. He will be able to get the plant, so that will be an economic boost to the rest of his teammates. But can he do anything off the back of that? He's about to get pincered in. The timing about favors him, surviving on 9 HP. He can now relocate, but he's being flanked. The key member is RPK, and the Frenchman will show his hand. Nice try, Device, keeping the CT's economy honest, building up his own, but Vitality still leads 6-3 come the end of it.
Yeah, I like that from Vitality. I think that's one of those situations where, although chances are you're going to win that fairly easily, a bomb plant, it's probably not going to affect the game massively. You losing a 1v5, that's a very different story altogether. So definitely good to see that they play that one very, very safe. And more importantly, their setup was so cheeky in that round. I love it. Like, Misuta aggressive on short. There was no way they expected that after the battle came in onto long. Like, if you find an opening kill, you're probably going to be falling back if you're the CT side. Instead, Vitality used that as almost a proving ground. And while it seems like they're looking to prove themselves even further, more aggression in towards mid. Sure, it's only pistols, which arguably makes it more risky. But at the range for battle, being so far in favor of that all, just for Apex to pad his stats a little bit.
Yeah, to build that confidence and make Astralis realize, look, if you give us a chance, we'll bully you. If you give us any free real estate or realm on this map, we will push in there and we will quickly pinch around you. So these are little tells and little mind games that are being established across the Astralis that may feel compelled to play a bit more passively and watch for these pushes in future rounds. Obviously, in terms of this round coming down, it's only a matter of time, and Glaive's now been found by Shox. So Vitality to a 7-3 lead, and considering at one point, Tom, this was neck and neck, Vitality starting to get some real daylight between themselves and their adversaries.
Yeah, for sure. Like, sure, they got the pistol, but then it was a real back and forth, which, if anything, well, I think we know what the swing round was. It was the SMGs, then a single win, and then just coming straight back into form again for Vitality. So they've sort of maybe broken the jitters a little bit. Shox, of course. These are the sort of plays I love to see from him. Like, a lot of people will put these sort of plays and call them something like maybe a fur. Like, I think he's someone who's made them popular. Shox was doing it before fur was even in the professional scene. Like, this man loves his aggressive overpass plays, and he has timed this one to perfection. Coming round on the flank, the fake almost being sold. Ah! It's a shot! Okay, he got there in the end. Oh, and I need to breathe. God, take it away, Vince.
Vitality. That was nearly pretty embarrassing, but Shox at least gets one. So he can fall back onto that. He's put himself and his team into a player advantage. RPK narrowly escaping death, but stands his ground. And Estetag runs in. But this is an interference play. He is trying to rummage together the CTs to the other side of the map. There is a rotation coming through, though. It's Apex getting around the back of the bomb carrier. And even if Glaive does get this entrance to zywoo, which is successful, Apex should shut this down right now. And Apex does just that. Hunts his prey, stalking it to perfection, and Vitality continue their spree of rounds.
Yeah, this round in general was just an awful lot of map control being taken by Vitality. Like, sure, jokes aside, like, because Shox did whiff a little bit, but even still, the fact that they're confident enough now to push all the way through mid and start wrapping around, this is where I want to see Astralis start to actually punish those plays, because this is something that they're very, very good at. This is something that teams normally don't get away with because it's Astralis. Like, they put fear into their opponents to the point where a lot of the time they lock them out of the match before it's even really begun. That's what Nuke looked like. I don't think that Astralis really invented or reinvented the wheel. They were just blasting their way through the sites and obliterating everyone in their path. This has been a very different story. And we're seeing that form from Vitality has made them one of the most consistent teams throughout. Sure, they've never been crowned champion over the last few months, but they're definitely one of the teams that deserves to be up there as a potential #1 in the world. This round, though, Vince, is pistols.
And it's a rush right down the heart of Vitality, and so far it's been somewhat successful. Now it's picking up pace. Estetag and his Tech 9 laying to waste Misuta, but Apex still alive. A post plant comes into fruition, and really this is basically what Astralis were looking for. Now if they can convert off the back of this, then all the better for it. Shox and zywoo remain. They do have the HP advantages, but zywoo with an AWP, if he misses his shot, and one of these pistols gets up close, or this M4 gets up close, this could start to get a little bit slippery. To make matters worse, Dupree's moved in, but he's now traded across to the AK-47. And as soon as zywoo picked up the AK, it was never in doubt. Vitality with yet another round. A 9-3 half on their CT side, and things are looking exceptionally good for the Frenchman.
Yeah, now it does start to become a worry for Astralis. Like, not something we've really said throughout this match. Even on Dust 2, like, I don't think we saw this sort of pressure put on their shoulders. And, well, we've seen a couple of members of this team go quiet. I remember last time S-Tag played this map versus Fnatic, he had an 11-1 start. Well, it's been the polar opposite this time. Nonetheless, always time. Triple nade stack being thrown in. Used to clear out the other boost. So luckily for Vitality, they decided to go for the 3-man boost over the top rather than the more common one around the wood side. Obviously, the wood side does have much higher risk, wall bangable, and, well, people like to nade stack it. So clearly, either they've done their research or this one's just a little bit more preferable for them. The risk it does have, though, is they've only got one man defending A. They've abandoned it for the majority. It's a much more passive stance as well from Shock. So the only information they're getting are from the flashbangs and extra pieces of utility that are currently being expended for Astralis. And the second Shox has heard anything, to be fair to them, they have called for an extra rotator, and it is big man zywoo.
Oh, the flashbang could not have been better placed, and Glaive reaps the rewards. Fruits of their labor have been seen. 45 seconds. Suta looking like he may be called upon to have a pretty big impact. And this player stack with RPK is the last lifeline. The protectorate of the site. Device, though, probably forces out at least one rotation. At the bare minimum, keeps Shox interested. This isolates the 2B defenders. Shox at least stands his ground for one, but with 22 seconds left, here comes the main play. The main way forward for Astralis, and Masuta's gonna get two. S-Attack, Molotov off, can't really push in, and even though they take off the head of RPK, it may not be good enough. 10 seconds, smoke onto that Molotov. They push straight through, wild spray through the smoke, but S-Attack, he's been silenced, and that's it. The round's over. There's not enough time for Mages. 10 rounds already to Vitality, and Astralis continue to struggle.
This is now the second round we've seen Masuta play that exact spot and catch Astralis out completely. It's a mistake that they really can't afford to be making, but this youngster is making the most of it. And it's incredible because he had a lot of aggressive plays. Like, he pushed all the way through the water just earlier in the round. He hears them rotating and just decides to play far more passively. Doesn't want the risk of being pincered. He heard them running towards the monster side as well. So he falls back into just a cheeky angle once again. And as I said, he's used it twice now. So you could forgive Astralis maybe the first time, but not checking that again, it's cost him.
Shox dropped 33 in a 1917 win. Well, he's their top fragger again here, but 8 of those kills have been 2 separate 4Ks, one of which was the pistol. I don't want to take anything away from him, but it's not been a one-man show. Apex and zywoo have been a great supporting cast. RPK and Masuta both have 9 frags as well. Everyone's really pulling their weight, to be honest. That's a big part of why Vitality currently lead 10-3. Astralis, their 3 rounds came at the start of this half. When rifles started to come into play thick and fast, they have by and large just been second best at every single given turn. Glaive cut out from the opening pick, and it's Masuta. After a hero performance in the round prior, he stands back up again and does more of the same. And Astralis, I said they're in trouble before, Tom. This is getting into panic mode now. They need to get these last 2 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. We mentioned at the beginning, both of these teams currently with 100% win rate on this map over the last few months. Only one of them gets to keep it, and Vitality seemed too hot to trot. Apex again. And it's not even just Apex. They've got 2 players in on this flank. Masuta, he's going to double up. Maybe they won't even need him if he continues this sort of form, but eventually the flank comes through. Now it's Dupree's turn. A 1 versus 4 bomb in his hands. He does have time, but he's not going to be given a moment's notice. Another couple of kills coming up for Shox, and an 11th round for Vitality. They may have got banged out on map number 1, but the fact is they're looking to return the favor in the 3rd.
Well, exactly. I think many people, myself included, feared the worst for Vitality after that nuke performance. It's just the manner in which they were absolutely dispatched. Like, Astralis never looked like they were struggling. never broke a sweat. But now that sweat will be dripping from their foreheads. They've lost the first player again. It's Mages this time to the hands of zywoo. Holding down B via Monster. Device, nothing slow, nothing steady, but actually needs to be cognizant of shots. Who's playing incognito in the smoke and now shows his hand. At the cost of Device's life and vitality, keep themselves a player ahead. Two remaining Astralis Danes are completely separate positions over the map. Could not be more isolated, and Apex now puts it down to Esitag, the lone survivor, who will be out the door momentarily. He's had a rough day at the office on overpass with just 3 kills, but can he double up his frag count? Can he pull off something special? He's missed his first chance. That could be his last shot as well. Goes in for the first onto RPK. He's losing health by the second. There's Molotovs coming down. Has to smoke to keep himself alive. And Apex drills him through the smoke. It's 12. Astralis went from the pinnacle of a 16-4 victory in our first map on Nuke to the pit of a 12-3 deficit now on Overpass. Our last map, we'll have to see the Danes hit some serious form. We said they were peak on Nuke. Since then, it's been a bit of a drop-off. But can they start to pick up the pieces on their CT side? As USP's up close against the blocks. Dupree is holding on for 3 kills alongside Mages. That's more like it. Apex tries to rummage around the back and Glaive denies him. It's fast, it's lightning, but it works against Vitality.
Oh, that's exactly what we want to be seeing from Astralis coming into this second half. It needs to be a truly incredible comeback, one for the ages, but if any team were going to be able to do it, it would be the Danish powerhouse of Astralis. Of course, they are up against what I would call the grand final specialists over the last 6 months, a team that has been able to get to the final, but never quite done the job at the end. Of course, this is an elimination. This will be both teams still fighting on in the tournament. The fact is, though, one of them gets to take the easy road. The other will have to fight through either heroic or NIP. And we know that, well, if it was the Danish battle, that really could go either way with these two teams at the moment. So I'm sure Astralis would love to avoid that one. At the same time, they might relish the chance to eliminate their Danish brothers. We never know. But for now, we've got to see if they can get past the Frenchman. It's not an investment here for Vitality. In fact, it is nothing. Absolutely nothing. So any kills here, Vince, are almost a miracle.
And that prayer has not been answered. They are being sprayed down, eviscerated as anticipated. Astralis will take a very comfortable 5 rounds, but they're still up against the 12 of Vitality. And as you mentioned, Tom, with a lack of investment, full AKs now available on Vitality. So should they choose to go all in with them, I don't see why they wouldn't. Maybe one player drops down to Galil for a bit of extra utility, but for the most part, you're expecting AKs, and that's what's came into play. So you could argue, in fact, I would definitely argue they have a much better buy now, Vitality and Astralis. They need to be very careful.
Oh, maybe not just yet. So careful that both teams are in fact going to run back to the spawn. There may have been utility thrown, but there was 0 damage done. So whatever the technical issue is, we will be able to sort things out, no problems. I'm sure both teams are more than happy to start things off once again. So it's not one of those ones that's going to be difficult to sort out, and it will mean that we're going to be left to stew at least a little bit longer. Very, very quick turnaround from the guys at DreamHack. So we are going to be going back in almost instantly. And, well, now you can set the scene once again, Vince.
Yeah, just keep an eye on those buys, guys. This is looking pretty grim for Astralis, and they may very well try and play aggressively with these SMGs. The thing is, it's a bonus round, but you're in a bonus in a situation where you're well and truly behind, and Apex quickly spins into action and gets one before zywoo. Sprayed down by Dupree's MP9, using that smoke to try and escape, realizes if he goes any deeper, he will be out in the open for the T's, and he has to just try and do as much damage as is possible. Unfortunately, on Astralis, he does damage, but no extra kills, so Vitality have the advantage in terms of manpower. This will be a rough ask to see Astralis get back into this round.
As you mentioned, like in isolation, if you take this round as a solo one, or maybe if we're in the first half, you might look at this and go, well, Astralis probably going to be able to buy into the next one, right? At this point, 13 rounds, it's not a death sentence, but you really don't want to allow Vitality to get that close to victory. Almost smell that grand final. Well, defense is not great. Now, we've seen an aggressive push from Device. He can tell you quite clearly it's not going to be an A-side push. The problem is there's only 2 other players to try and defend this. He might be able to catch out Apex, but that's about it. Glaive, however, does already take down the injured RPK, but that flank is not going to be coming anytime soon. 20 seconds left. The bomb looks to go forward. The rest of the players hesitated. This extra little bit of time could be enough for Astralis to throw a spanner in the works. They've got to be careful. S-Tag is still here. He's looking to try and deny the bomb, but he's shooting the wrong player, and although he does a hell of a lot of damage, it doesn't really matter. Glaive, 1v3, looking for the clutch.
The mastermind of so many strategical plays on Astralis runs into the gauntlet of 3 Frenchmen, and it's Masuda with his AK that dispatches of him and forces him back. 13-5, but Astralis will be able to rummage together another buy. You saw here Apex with the big entries. There are, as you said, a couple of banana peels that were
victories off the mid. It was a bad map. Let's just put it that way. Simple as. It's long gone and forgotten at this point because, well, although it's given 1 map over to Astralis, the remaining 2 have been all Vitality. Now, this is crunch time. It's a double AWP setup going straight in for Astralis. They don't have time to hold anything back. Now, we talk about this almost being a bit of a gimmick. It's not something I necessarily expect to see going forward for Astralis, but in this round, it's what they've got.
Jump boost, no one home, but it does give Vitality the chance to take some long control and start to constrict onto Astralis. Their double AWPs, very deadly, but it does leave them bare elsewhere. Do they try and get aggressive to supplement this, to facilitate a comeback? Dupree getting up close with bathrooms, so nearly catching a player off, but he knows that this has an expiry date. He knows to his left-hand side he can get peeked at any second, and if he goes down, there's a very high chance that Vitality not only win this round, but potentially the best of 3. It's a pressure cooker situation for Dupree, and he's remaining ice cold, but he will not get thawed out just yet. Vitality are headed towards B.
This is a really bold rotation. They took complete long control, and the problem is the amount of time it's taken them to get here. Astralis are ready. They've got short control. They've got a 4th player, in fact, rotating in. The flashbang's fantastic, but S-Tag will only come away with 1. Device about to come under pressure. The peak coming out, the AWP shot landed. He goes back for the other player as well and catches Apex. Looking to do it all on his own. Sure, the next shot's missed, but he's bought some time for teammates to rotate in. It's left onto Shox, and he gets nothing done at all. Astralis with the reads. Vitality may be slightly overthinking things here, and that's enough for Astralis to bounce straight back.
There was an excellent Molotov that was also tossed into Monster just before S-Tag got flashed in for the peak, and although he only got 1 kill, he weakened up a couple more players. It was vital information that allowed Astralis to get in position with Device going short. Very well played on the Danes, and you can see the result it has for Vitality. They have the 1 AK for Shox, and that's it. A few deagles sprinkled in, but a very good opportunity for Astralis to start to build themselves back into this half. After going 12-3 in the first halftime score, they now find themselves clawing their way back in slowly but surely. Another run boost. We saw this previously. This time it is going to be a bit fluffed, but it's okay. They don't get punished. Astralis weren't there anyway.
Yeah, that's been the main thing, actually. A takeaway over the last couple of rounds is that Astralis don't play anyone towards long. They're more than happy to give it up, it seems, and they've got this 1-2 punch. Now, in most rounds, I'm fine with this. Against pistols, it's a little bit uncomfortable. But by the looks of it, they're going to be absolutely fine, although Apex does take 1 down. Luckily for them, nobody did go through long, so there wasn't really any chance of a wraparound. Apex has retrieved a rifle, but Dupree more than happy to play with the pistol as well, and while Shox, unfortunately, the aim punch is enough to take him out, it seems. Nonetheless, a 4K for Dupree, padding those stats a little bit further, and at least reducing the difference down to just 6.
Yeah, and reducing the economic strain. You're on the money. That's a kind of play that against pistols that are going to be very mobile and get up in your face quickly. That could have easily been 2 casualties and an AWP going down. So the fact that Dupree held his nerve for a 4K is pretty significant. It allows Astralis to keep building their economy. You can see Glaive is struggling. Could have been another player down at this kind of threshold. So important that Astralis don't just get rounds, but they get them clean. Magisk, aggression, something we haven't seen yet. Beautiful flashbang, they line up, and there's Magisk with a double spray. There's the two brains working together. Glaive with the flash assist and Magisk executing to perfection. Vitality cannot get comfortable. They're being pressured, they're being punctured from left and right. And now Masuta, maybe he can take down Magisk up close, although his crosshair is a little bit off. Still goes in for one. Oh, flick the cross to the second. And all of that opening exchange has now been nullified. Now Vitality can try and split and pick against Astralis and potentially go a player ahead. But Dupree with the AWP is too good.
Super's giving zywoo a run for his money for like the sheer individual skill on this Vitality roster. This map has been all him. He's been the player I'm most impressed with so far. See if he's got anything left in the locker. He's got a tank alongside him. A double AWP setup still in play for Astralis. Gives opportunities, but of course it means that they're going to have to hit some pretty tasty shots to get the entries here. Glaive already spotting a man out towards long, and the push from Masuta. He's already tagged low. RPK, I don't know how he gets past this angle without getting killed, and while the trade is attempted, but Glaive has his teammates back. Another in a row for Astralis, and 8 on the board. And Vitality again are going to be back to just pistols.
Love that play, and it's such a integral moment in this game, Tom, there. If that flash doesn't work and Magisk just gets obliterated alongside Glaive, like that's the round and potentially the map that goes with it. But desperate times call for, I won't even say desperate measures, just big moments. Ballsy, courageous moments. Dupree takes off the head of RPK. He needs to run away, though. He's going to be pressured from balloons, and it's going to be zywoo that not just with the dig headshot, but could go retrieve the AWP as well, but he does get denied by a device. So no AWP moves into the hand of the Magician. And instead, he comes out empty-handed. Masuta and Shox remain, but not for much longer, as Astralis put this round to bed. You've got to give the Danes their due credit here, Tom. The fact is they were 12-3 behind. They've now moved to just 4 rounds behind Vitality. They are breathing down their necks. It feels like the momentum of this game might be just about changing in reverse.
And Dupree has been a huge part of this. Like, you look at the pistol, 3 kills there. The second round, he had a double. We saw him get 4 kills not too long ago. Like, he's been really rising up the board. And although some of them have been relatively flashy plays, it's been a massive comeback from him. Glaive now gaining in confidence as well, making some similarly aggressive plays. And he even has S-Tag to support him. Sure, Masuta gets the trade, just like the last round. But there hasn't been a second just yet. Although I wouldn't doubt him at this point.
Apex and zywoo with a vast test ahead of them. They will look to pivot into the site. See if they can envelop one of these areas, but Apex, his life has been deemed forfeit. Zywoo briefly caught the jumping Dupree over the boxes, wasn't able to one-tap him down, can go and retrieve the bomb. But it's a slight reprieve, honestly, Tom, because the fact of the matter is he pulled off a beautiful 1v4 on Dust 2 under very different circumstances. And to repeat that mark here would be simply outstanding, of the highest magnitude. He is going to be coming through, likely wants to die before the time runs out. Can't really put any AKs behind this pickup. So in he goes, realizing all these angles could have CTs residing in them, and it will be deviced with the Deagle that shuts him down. That vast lead of 12-3 has now been cut back down to just 3, and Vitality are in a spot of trouble.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. All they've won in this half is 1 single round. Since then, it has been a streak of 5 for Astralis, and that's the problem with the Danes. They're never out. They're never, ever out. No matter the scoreline, no matter what starts happening. And we've seen in the past Vitality crumble in vital situations. This cannot be another. They were set to be in the grand final, maybe already thinking about the opponent they're going to face. Instead, well, their opponent might be getting the better of them a little bit early. We know that falling into that lower bracket, that consolidation final, will not be where you want to be. there is either going to be Heroic or the Ninjas waiting for them there. So it's not an easy match nonetheless. Maybe one they'd expect to win, but who cares? They're still in the lead here. But Astralis, this double op setup, starting to perform.
This half currently 7-1 in favor of Vitality, but Dupree misses the mark. And Masuda, who for me has been the pick of the bunch on Vitality, especially on this T half, Tom, he comes in again, neutralizes him, and gives Vitality what feels like the first time in at least 4 or 5 rounds where they've had the opening pick. They've actually had control over the map.
Yeah, the third round for sure that he's the first one to do anything on his own side. We've seen him bring back a couple of rounds, but this time he's got the opener. And yeah, for sure, I think even on the CT side, he's got a good shout for being the best player. RPK, though, that could be a crucial opener. Glaive looking to come in from behind, but Shox is ready and waiting. A free kill for him, and the remainder of Astralis have no choice but to save. It's been a long hiatus from the board, as you mentioned. 7-1 in favor of the Danes in this half so far. We can at least tally up a second. And that's the thing, even with all these rounds coming up for Astralis, even with the momentum going into their favor, Vitality now need just 2 rounds, and they are in the grand final of the DreamHack Open 4 RMR event.
They can see the finish line. It's within grasp. There's the tag.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, I think he was looking for some exit frags, and maybe at some point he's like, should I go for it? No, definitely don't do that. You may get forced down anyway. Playing a ring around the rosy, picks up the AK, so that's a nice takeout. Astralis can buy behind that, no problems. Of course, this is as a result of being 7-1 up until that point. Now, though, Vitality have picked up their second T round, but we'll see if they can continue to press towards that finish line, Tom, or if they slip up again and Astralis get right back into this.
That's the thing. They've got the money to play with at this point, but it's all about the rounds. Those are the only numbers that matter. I like it. Cheeky run boost, and with zywoo actually watching the angle, unless he saw a foot fly across, will be none the wiser that somebody's already made it to the other side. It seems like Apex is somewhat aware, but it doesn't matter. S-Tag gets the drop on him. Instantly, a counter utility is expended just to make sure there can't be any sort of refrag. In fact, a lot of counter utility being expended. Is that 2 smokes and an incendiary? Might be maybe a little bit much.
Has kept Astralis, though, with 3 players over on B. You don't have any players pushing up around the back, but Vitality don't know this. They know they have to go in. The trigger about to be pulled. The execute in motion. S-Attack, though, devastatingly strong up close with the AK, forcing zywoo back. And with 52 HP to his name, he'll be hoping that he can do a bit of damage on his way out, but it seems inevitable that he will fall. Good first shot. His position now is not far off landing the smoke bang, which would have been pretty ridiculous. And with all eyes on him, what can he muster up? I think it's probably going to be a saved up, though, Tom. You just don't have the bomb. You don't really have any inroads back into this clutch. Just tap out and come back in again next round.
Yeah, I'm not sure my heart can take any like Guardian-esque overpass clutches, please. I'd like to still be alive for tomorrow, where there's still plenty more action to be had. And then, of course, the big grand final coming up on Sunday. I'll be honest with you, Vince. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a rematch. I wouldn't be surprised at all. The way that both these teams have been performing. I do think that if anybody was going to give them the challenge, it probably would be Heroic. But to be honest, with all the teams that have been eliminated by every single team still left in the tournament, you can't count anyone out. Maybe the Ninjas will pull off the full reverse sweep and surprise us all. And I wouldn't be against that whatsoever. But with the level that these two teams have been showing throughout, definitely the favorites to get there. As said, one taking the short journey, the other having to take the long road through the lower bracket. Ease this round. They're going to be gathering up outside B. Couple of defenders there. Maybe a slight change of pace coming in for Vitality. We've seen them go for these slower pick-based rounds, but this time it looks like they want to put the pressure straight onto S-Tag. But don't peek his crosshair like that. I think he'll hit those ones all day long. And in fact, again, I love this from Astralis. The second they get a kill, they don't even bother fighting it at all. There's always counter utility. There's no opportunity for a trade whatsoever unless you want to toast your feet along the way.
I am absolutely mind blown. That seems like a fairly regulation kind of shot, right? But that reaction speed from S-Tag was unbelievable. That's not an angle that you expect to get dry peeked at that kind of a position. That's full focus for 15-20 seconds. Not easy to do. The second he was peeked, Apex had his head removed. 30 seconds left. dupreeh taking control of connector. This is massive for Astralis. He doesn't need to kill them all. He just needs to stand his ground a little bit longer, but he's gone down. And now that does put a couple of doubts, a couple of awkward moments in play, and zywoo capitalizes with 2 big AWP frags. But Glaive has guessed correctly. 12 seconds left, and Masuta on point with the entry. There's 4 match points.
The funny thing about this round is that zywoo towards the end is almost selling a fake. Because if you look at the map in that moment, Shox has actually taken full control of Bank. He had the perfect flank for anybody rotating, so zywoo was just almost trying to get them to move that a little bit faster while he lurks on the other side. And Shox did nothing. He wasn't even needed. His teammates ripped the heads off the remaining players before he even had a chance. And they need just 1 round. Now, they've used their last pause, Vince. They're putting everything into this one. The cheesiest strat you could possibly think of to close out this match versus Astralis. That's all they need. And maybe a slight calm within the storm. Give themselves a breather. The only worry for me is if Astralis break back now, no more timeouts.
It's very true. There would be no more timeouts available to Vitality, but there's more than enough funds. So at least it's not a case of lose this round and you flat out broke and Astralis can get back to like a 15-13. Astralis aggression. Haven't seen dupreeh peeking this many times with the AWP. Good flash. Due diligence being established on Apex. Nearly reaped the reward from it. Hefty damage to dupreeh forces him on the back foot. That's the win for Vitality early on. It gets map control. They have connector. They have control over balloons. They have control out of B. And when Astralis are lacking utility on a couple of players and they have no kits, these are all big, big moments that go in favor of Vitality. Can they execute off it, though?
At least this double AWP remains for Astralis. dupreeh, he was fantastic in the earlier stages of this half, but he has gone a little bit quiet. This is where they need him most. And they're building up for a peek onto him. Masuta manages to dodge his way. And how has Shox got here? You mentioned S-Tag. He might have just had that lapse in judgment. That second missing the moment. But dupreeh and Device, they combine. They hold the line. Apex having to run through the Molotov. But zywoo's hit the shot. And now it is on to Device. One of the greatest players of all time trying to keep his team in the map. The flashbang's going to leave him completely blind. He's been spotted as well. The push coming in. He tags Masuta for next to nothing and can't quite hit the second shot. And zywoo is there to put him down. It is going to be the victory for Vitality as they make their way to another